If this message has reached you today, it is no coincidence. There are moments in life when the heart recognizes a truth long before the mind can fully understand it. This steady, persistent feeling, the deep sense of knowing that lingers in the back of your mind, has a real purpose and a meaningful reason. Life is attempting to convey something connected to this story, to this unique bond, and to a choice that can no longer be delayed. This is not a warning, nor is it meant to frighten you. It is about a truth that needs to be acknowledged now, before remaining silent causes more pain than any wrong word ever could. The sense of confusion you feel is real and powerful. There are days when everything seems to grow cold for no apparent reason, when emotional and physical distance between people expands, only to be followed by moments that signal otherwise. Sudden memories, small gestures, or brief signs can reignite a fire that has never truly gone out. This emotional push and pull is not accidental, and it is not imagined. It reflects a struggle that does not originate with the person reading this, but from the other side of this connection, there is a tension between pride and emotion, between the fear of opening up and the urge to remain guarded, between letting go of the bond or having the courage to face the truth within oneself. The universe and the energy around us notice what the human eye often misses. These intense feelings are experienced when no one else is watching. The hidden fear, the words rehearsed in front of a mirror but never spoken, and the decisions delayed due to a lack of bravery. Saying yes to true commitment often means saying yes to a significant life change. Change is always a little intimidating. It feels frightening because to love genuinely means letting go of the need to control. It requires tearing down walls built over years and stepping onto a path whose end is unknown. In such moments, it's no longer possible to pretend you don't care. Questions often arise: is this situation just a dream? Am I expecting too much from something that feels stuck? Is this connection real, or just a fantasy born from wanting companionship? These doubts are painful, exhausting the heart. They make you feel like you are giving more, feeling deeper, and waiting with what seems like endless patience. Yet, it's crucial to hold on to this uncertainty with calmness. When a bond grows from a deep, authentic place, it doesn't vanish with time or distance. Instead, it transforms, it faces tests, it stretches to its limits, yet it endures. When someone tries to run from what is real, life ensures they eventually confront that avoidance. Something inside this person is poised to break, not in harm, but in the necessary unmasking of the facades they carry. There comes a point when pretending that this bond is unimportant becomes impossible. The emptiness left by absence weighs far more than the fear of commitment. And it is at this moment that unexpected shifts begin. Not because magic fixes everything, but because the soul can no longer hide what silently demands to be expressed. This message is not about forcing outcomes. Life does not require chasing, pushing, or exhausting yourself to win someone over. Instead, it calls for patience, observation, and trust. Above all, it asks that you honor your intuition rather than act from fear of loss. Choosing from inner truth brings clear answers. Acting from worry or fear usually halts progress. Now, there are two distinct paths. On one side, you continue doubting your feelings, minimizing the signs, and telling yourself it's safer to quit before being hurt again. This path feels rational and secure, but gradually moves you away from what could grow stronger. The other path involves standing with integrity, without pleading for attention, forcing encounters, or closing your heart. It means remaining in a place of self-respect and faith, allowing the other person to navigate their own journey. Walking this path leads to clarity. The consequence of ignoring this is repeating painful cycles, the same stories, the same empty spaces, and the same unanswered questions. Life repeats lessons not to punish but to teach, because it knows there is a deep capacity for love within you, yet also a tendency to tolerate more than you should. This is the comfort that needs to be heard today. You are not alone in this journey. You are not imagining all that happens. Subtle shifts have already begun, inner choices that may not yet appear in the physical world, but can be felt in the energy around you. Life moves neither too fast nor too slow. When the right moment arrives, everything aligns in ways the logical mind cannot control. Some people feel loss even when surrounded by others. They sense the immediate risk of losing a connection, even when acting as if they are secure. Souls connected on a deeper level are not easily replaced. They recognize each other. When one attempts to step back, life presents the same name, the same memory, and the same feeling repeatedly. It is essential to pay attention to your body and emotions, not out of fear or impatience, but to find peace in knowing that what is coming is not a fleeting impulse, but a truth quietly growing beneath the surface. When this period of uncertainty ends, you will understand why nothing occurred sooner, why walking a solitary path was necessary, and why waiting was allowed before action could happen. To understand why someone distances themselves from something they deeply desire, you must first recognize the inner struggle within their shadow side, a battle that psychologists have studied for over a century. This explains the underlying reason behind behaviors that may seem strange or confusing. If you are ready to bring this understanding into your life, acknowledge it by writing in the comments that you trust your intuition. To truly comprehend why distancing occurs at the peak of connection, it's necessary to look beyond appearances. Renowned thinkers like Carl Jung explored the mind and offered insights that clarify what occurs in the heart and mind of someone who chooses to step back. It is not a lack of love or care, it is a more complex mental and spiritual process involving the mirror effect and confronting the shadow self. Understanding this is key to stop taking distance personally and to start viewing it as a wake-up call. When two people share a profound bond, the connection functions like a perfect mirror. A mirror does not judge, it reflects clearly what is placed before it. In this connection, the other person not only perceives the light, love, and care offered to them, but also confronts their own vulnerabilities, unacknowledged fears, and unresolved wounds. Jung said that anything not confronted within ourselves tends to show up in our outer life. For those who have not yet learned to love and accept themselves, the presence of someone offering complete love and acceptance can feel overwhelming. This is where the concept of the shadow comes into play. The shadow represents the parts of ourselves that we hide, suppress, or deny because we fear rejection. These may include deep insecurities, feelings of inadequacy, or the fear of abandonment. When genuine love touches these hidden areas, the ego instinctively reacts to protect itself. The person does not run from the one who loves them. They run from the feelings this love awakens within themselves. They flee from the openness that comes with being fully seen without any masks or defenses. The connection is so illuminating that it exposes corners they would rather leave in darkness. This begins the cycle of confusion. At times, the desire for connection wins, bringing closeness and hope. At other times, fear takes over, the fear of being truly seen, the fear that their shadow will be exposed, causing them to pull away. It becomes a pattern of wanting intimacy yet pushing it away because the other person's light is too intense. It is important to understand that this behavior does not reflect on the worth of the person who waits. Rather, it is a reflection of the fear within the one who runs. They are caught in an internal struggle between surrendering to the bond and protecting their sense of self or control over their emotions. Accepting genuine love requires courage that not everyone possesses at the same time. It demands letting go of control, lowering defenses, and stepping into a space where pretending everything is fine is no longer possible. This is intimidating because to truly love is to leave oneself vulnerable. You may wonder if you are overestimating the connection, hoping too much, or questioning its authenticity. This doubt is painful because it tests the heart. You give more, feel more, and wait more. Yet it is essential to approach this with calm. When a connection is rooted in truth, it does not disappear, it evolves. A common mistake is trying to force closeness, believing that proving love will ease the other person's fears. From the perspective of their inner mirror, however, this pursuit can magnify the very reflection that frightens them. If you approach someone who fears their own shadow, they will naturally step back to feel safe. The chase, often unrecognized, is perceived as pressure to confront what they are not ready to face. Thus, the push and pull is not accidental. It mirrors an internal conflict that belongs not only to the one who waits, but also to the one who struggles between pride and love, between fleeing and staying, between risking happiness and confronting inner demons. Life perceives what the eye cannot. The quiet nights when they think about the bond alone, the unspoken fears, the words rehearsed but never shared, and the decisions delayed. Accepting love also means accepting change, and that is the real obstacle. In a paradoxical way, running away is proof of how much the bond matters. If the connection were insignificant, there would be no need to flee, because nothing would be at stake. No one builds walls around something that doesn't matter to them. You only construct defenses around what you consider valuable and vulnerable. This distance, then, is a temporary safe space, a place where the person attempts to repair their inner world, shaken by the onset of love, and regain a sense of control lost the moment the heart began to feel so deeply. Pride acts like a fierce guard. Admitting you need someone or acknowledging that stepping away was wrong requires the ego to surrender, and the ego resists with every ounce of energy to survive. That is why you observe behaviors that seem contradictory: sudden coldness, prolonged silence. It is not genuine indifference, it is a mask the ego wears to buy time while the soul continues to move toward truth. As Jung said, light is not found by dreaming of brightness, but by becoming conscious of the darkness. This connection compels the other person to reveal their shadow side, whether they want to or not. The uncertainty and confusion caused by strange behavior can be painful because it feels like balance is disrupted. Yet, when someone tries to flee from reality, life ensures they will confront it. Something is on the verge of shifting in this wall, not destructively, but necessarily. There comes a point when pretending it doesn't matter becomes impossible because the emptiness feels heavier than the fear. And it is precisely at this boundary that unexpected things happen, not because all issues are resolved, but because the soul can no longer endure the mismatch. The goal is not to shatter the mirror or attempt to clean it for the other person. The goal is to allow the mirror to do its work by remaining centered, without chasing, without fleeing. You create the only real opportunity for the other person to face their shadow safely without feeling attacked. You establish a space where fear can gradually transform into curiosity and then into acceptance. It is an act of profound faith to trust that the other person's inner work is unfolding even when immediate results are not visible. And here is where most people falter, trying to force outcomes or demanding logical explanations for a journey that is entirely emotional and spiritual. In doing so, you prevent them from confronting their own emptiness. You take away the chance for them to feel absence, to value, and to recognize independently what they are losing. For a reunion to be genuine and lasting, it must arise from freedom, from the other person's own awareness, not from your insistence. And for this to occur, A profound experience must happen first. The physics of absence creates this space. Understanding how the shadow operates is just the first step in opening up the situation. Once you realize that running is not truly about you, but rather a defensive reaction to a mirror that shines too brightly, the next question becomes, how should you respond? The solution does not lie in chasing or convincing them, but in a far older and more powerful principle that governs everything in existence, the physics of energy and the law of empty space. Human connections function in an invisible, precise way, much like gravity. When you learn to work with this law rather than fight it, the dynamics of the situation change entirely. Up to this point, natural instincts have likely driven you to look for them, try to fix things, demand explanations, or simply linger so that you are not forgotten. These are human tendencies. When something valuable seems to be slipping away, the first impulse is to chase it and hold on. In terms of energy, however, this pursuit produces the opposite outcome. Imagine the bond as a rope connecting two ends. If one side pulls hard to bring the other closer, the immediate reaction of the other side is to pull back to maintain balance and protect their position. Whenever there is a force chasing, there will always be a force that pushes back and distances itself. This is where the physics of absence becomes crucial. All this time, your attention was fixed on the other person, sending messages, monitoring their actions, or spending hours thinking about them. Meanwhile, their ego and sense of security were being reinforced. The one who pulls away feels a sense of power and ease. They are aware that someone is waiting, that a safety net exists through the other person's care. This certainty allows them to stay away without feeling the true weight of being alone. The energy you give someone acts like fuel, keeping them going without fatigue, because they don't have to face the fear of loss. But what occurs when this energy suddenly disappears? When the choice is made to withdraw attention not as a trick or punishment, but as an act of self-respect and preservation, a profound shift happens. Letting go of the connection removes the resistance on the other side. The force they used to maintain distance suddenly loses its purpose, causing them to lose stability. Those who were running find themselves in stillness, with no one pursuing them. Then true silence steps in. This silence isn't merely an absence of noise or messages. It creates an actual energy gap. Science explains that nature resists emptiness and strives to fill any void. When the energy that once supported someone is withdrawn, a hollow space forms around them. Initially, they may feel quick relief, thinking they've regained freedom. But this sensation fades rapidly, turning into a strange emptiness and then into deep concern. They begin to notice an unexplained coldness, a lack of vitality in their daily life. As if someone had dimmed the light or lowered the volume of their existence, something that had once given them warmth and direction. In this space, the mind of the person left behind starts to function differently. They no longer expend energy building walls or making excuses to avoid being noticed, because no one is pursuing them anymore. This freed mental energy turns inward. Curiosity awakens. They wonder why the pursuit has ended, whether interest has faded, or if the unwavering support they once counted on is truly gone. Doubt, which once belonged only to the one who waited, now shifts to the one who left. It's important to understand that this process doesn't happen overnight, but it is inevitable. By reclaiming your focus, you return full responsibility for emotions to the other person. Previously, only one person carried the burden of fear and loss. Now, that weight returns to its rightful owner. The other person must experience the full reality of separation without the comforting energy they relied on. They are compelled to confront life's truths without the steady warmth they once received. And it is within this contrast that true appreciation emerges. No one realizes the value of air until it begins to run out. No one truly values the deep presence of a connection until its absence becomes real, not just a distant threat. For this pullback of energy to work, it must be genuine. Simply stopping the writing or communication is useless if your mind is still stuck, calling out that person's name in silence. Energy cannot lie. The hidden connection reveals the truth of what you feel. For the reality of absence to take effect, your focus must shift. Return to your center, care for yourself, and grow. When your mindset changes from needing someone to being content alone, the message you send to the world and to that person is one of pride and self-worth. Nothing is more magnetic than a person who feels complete on their own, who doesn't need to beg for love to feel okay. At this stage, the other person may sense an energy loss. They might test you, seeking a quick reaction to see if they still have control, sending mixed signals or appearing briefly. These are not genuine attempts to return, but safety checks to see if the connection still exists. If you remain steady and ignore these crumbs, the effect on their mind is intensified. Evidence that something has truly changed creates a new tension. The ground they once relied on is gone, and now they must either support themselves or rebuild the bridge they helped destroy. This energy gap communicates a louder truth. Without the drama of chasing or conflict, the core feeling remains pure. If the bond is genuine, silence will not destroy it. On the contrary, it amplifies it. Physical distance shifts from relief to a quiet ache. The other person begins to sense the need to restore the connection, not because they are forced, but because their own soul craves the energy they previously turned away from. They realize that the freedom they thought they desired feels empty without the person who gave that freedom meaning. It is a moment of both fragility and strength. The balance is now even. There is no longer a chaser or someone being chased, only two people facing their own truths in silence. While this inward-focused approach continues, the stage is being set for the next phase. If the silence becomes too heavy and the ego is deprived of its usual satisfaction, the person will attempt to fill the void. They will seek distractions or external noise to quiet the inner unrest. But soon they will learn that when a connection comes from the soul, no external substitute can deceive the heart for long. The moment the pursuit ends, a quiet yet challenging phase begins for the one who stepped away. This is a stage where distractions no longer work. Once the energy gap is established, the first response of the person who left is usually not surrendering immediately, but attempting to avoid it. The human mind, when faced with a difficult truth or painful loss, naturally seeks ways to numb the feeling. During this stage, it is common for the person to fill the void with noise, immersing themselves in work, staying busy, or being around others. The ego uses this as a final attempt to convince itself that it is in control, that it can live without this deep connection, and that leaving was the correct choice. They may throw themselves into tasks, spend more time outside, or pursue superficial pleasures that allow them not to think, feel, or remember. However, this is where an essential process begins. If the bond was genuine, attempts to find elsewhere what existed only in this unique connection will hit an invisible barrier. Life allows them to explore, meet new people, and experience new energies, but not to cause harm. It does so to reveal the profound difference between superficial experiences and what truly belongs to the soul. Every effort to replace you becomes a painful reminder of what has been lost. They may meet new people, engage in conversations with love in mind, or simply seek validation from others. Yet, they will encounter something troubling. The interactions feel hollow, lacking flow and depth. The natural spark of a soul connection cannot be replicated with anyone else. They may sit across from someone who seems perfect on paper, yet feel a dull boredom they cannot ignore. They realize they have to force laughter, over-explain their thoughts, and that the effortless comfort of understanding through a single glance is missing. What was intended as casual enjoyment becomes a quiet torment. Comparisons become inevitable and unfair to the new people. Every trait of someone new highlights the value of the bond they left behind. The superficiality of others only makes the depth of the connection they tried to forget shine brighter. At this stage, the justifications for leaving, needing space, wanting freedom, hoping for someone better or easier, begin to feel hollow. Life demonstrates that easy is often empty, and freedom feels like wandering in a desert. Any attempt to convince themselves that time will heal everything fails, far from erasing the memory. Distance and unfavorable comparisons only sharpen it, making it more desired. They realize that losing this bond would not be a simple loss, but a deep wound that cannot be healed with distractions or fleeting moments of pleasure. When the noise of the outside world fades, silence returns with even greater intensity. This marks the beginning of what is often referred to in spiritual paths as the dark night of the soul, but here it is experienced by a mind in struggle. It is a period of inner turmoil where defenses fall, sleep becomes elusive, and nights stretch into long hours of reflection. Conversations replay endlessly. Moments of complete safety and instances of retreat prompted by fear keep resurfacing. Doubt creeps in, not about the other person or timing, but about their own story. Alone with their emotions, they confront fears that challenge their pride. The pride that once served as protection now feels confining. There is a strong pull to reconnect, a physical urge to call, to meet, to reach out. Yet, in this exhaustion, a subtle but unstoppable transformation begins. When the ego can no longer carry the weight of its own deceptions, something more authentic and honest emerges beneath it, a desire for peace, not for victory, not for control, but for calm in the heart. The yearning they tried to suppress grows stronger, turning into clarity that can no longer be ignored. They realize that no other person, no diversion, no thrill can fill the void left by the connection they once fled. And though this awareness may bring pain, it is the first sign of readiness to open up again. Gradually, almost imperceptibly, energy begins to shift. Thoughts soften, and the heart lowers some of its walls, not because fear has vanished, but because understanding has deepened. The real risk is not being near the loved one, but trying to live without them. In this quiet surrender, the first genuine impulse to return arises, not from guilt, not from loneliness, but from the profound understanding that what was once avoided is exactly what is needed for wholeness. It is at this fragile threshold between fear and courage that the heart finally moves in alignment with what the soul has long known.